I have done over 10 videos on Silent Hill Mythology, but not once have I discussed the mythology of Silent Hill 4. This isn't out of disdain for the game as a whole, mind you. I not only like it, I respect it deeply. But one thing that the game is sorely lacking is the use of real-life occult and psychological concepts in the deepening of its world and narrative. It doesn't have the references to alchemy and hermetic magic like in Silent Hill 1 and 3, or the psychoanalytic concepts of Silent Hill 2. And the stuff that is there is just repeated from the previous games. Though certain concepts in Silent Hill 4 suggest a deeper meaning, like the 21 Sacraments or the placards, I have been unable to construct a credible theory that wasn't either pure speculation or interesting enough to merit a video longer than a minute. That said, I did play through the game again recently and paid close attention to see if there was anything I missed. I'd gotten around to 90% completion and still had yet to notice anything new. But then I entered the room where Silent Hill 4's main villain, Walter Sullivan, ritualistically crucified himself so his spirit may live beyond his body. On a table in that room were a pair of items that were not only required to complete that ritual, but were also used in a couple of rituals in Silent Hill 2. About 10 seconds after I looked at these two items, I literally shouted, "Eureka!" I had realized something about these items and the rituals that they were involved in that I don't think anybody else has noticed in the Silent Hill fan community. In order to explain what my revelation was with the greatest clarity, I will provide a quick recap of who Walter Sullivan was and why he was crucified. Shortly after he was born, Walter was abandoned by his parents inside room 302 of an apartment complex called South Ashfield Heights. After he was discovered by the building's superintendent, he was sent to the Wish House Orphanage, located just outside of Silent Hill. This orphanage was secretly run by Silent Hill's underground cult known as the Order. The leader of the Order, Dahlia Gillespie, learned of young Walter's desire to reunite with the mother who abandoned him. She took advantage of this wish by telling him about one of the cult's religious rituals, the aforementioned 21 Sacraments. Dahlia said that if he studied the sacraments closely and performed them when the time was right, he could reunite with his mother. What he did not know was that the 21 Sacraments would instead bring the god of Silent Hill into the world, whom the Order referred to as the Holy Mother. Now, the 21 Sacraments ritual was divided into two halves, with the first being the most pertinent to this video's subject. The first half was known as the Ritual of the Holy Assumption. To perform this, Walter would need 3 ingredients: an obsidian goblet, an oil known as white chrism, and the blood of 10 sacrifices. When these were compiled, Walter would then crucify his body, but in doing so, his spirit would live on. He would then conduct 10 more murders as a ghost, which would then complete the ritual and birth the Order's god. The important thing to take away from this recap is that somehow, some way, the obsidian goblet, the white chrism, and blood were instrumental in allowing Walter's spirit to live beyond the flesh. Now let's turn to their use in Silent Hill 2. After completing the game once, the game gives you the opportunity to access a new ending known as the Rebirth ending, where James can bring Mary, his deceased wife, back from the dead. To do this, he needs both the obsidian goblet and the white chrism, along with a book called Crimson Ceremony and a book called The Book of Lost Memories. There is a noticeable absence of blood in this procedure, but this absence is addressed in the game's side content where you play as Maria. In this scenario, Maria encounters a man named Ernest Baldwin, who is trying to revive his dead daughter Amy via the same rebirthing ritual. His familiarity with the ritual is evidenced by the black, white, and red placards in his house that we need to use in order to obtain the Acacia key, which will help us to advance in the game. The black placard features the obsidian goblet, and the white placard features the white chrism. The red placard, however, does not seem to suggest blood. Instead, it's a picture of the Crimson Ceremony book. This discrepancy between the blood of Walter's ritual and the book in Silent Hill 2's ritual is reconciled by a memo titled Lost Memories. This note equates the words of the Crimson Ceremony book with blood, while equating the Vessel of Night with the goblet and Drops of Mist with the chrism. Now, I would like to draw your attention to a note that Ernest Baldwin wrote at the end of this memo, because it will help me finally address what my revelation was. It gives great importance to the colors of these three ingredients: black, white, and red. The same colors that are represented by the boards in the Acacia Key puzzle. When I looked at the goblet and the chrism in Silent Hill 4, I was reminded of these colors, and then I remembered that these colors were of the greatest symbolic significance in alchemy. In case you haven't watched any of my other videos on Silent Hill mythology, alchemical concepts are everywhere in the first 3 games. I will link to all of the evidence for this in the description box below in case you doubt my hypothesis. Regarding the colors though, they represented the 3-step process used in obtaining the ultimate goal of alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone, a stone that contained within it the elixir of eternal life. The black represents the first stage, known as nigredo, or blackening. In this stage, the alchemist would take an ingredient known as the prima materia, or first matter. The first matter is the void that existed at the beginning of time, from which God made the world. The white represents the second stage, known as albedo, or whitening. In this stage, the alchemist would drain the void of all its impurities. When the void was finally pure, it would first turn white and then turn the color of red. This red represents the third and final stage, known as rubedo, or reddening. When the purified void turned red, the alchemist will gain the Philosopher's Stone of the same color, and thus be gifted eternal life. It is through the black of the obsidian goblet, the white of the white chrism, and the red of the blood/words that Mary, Amy, and Walter might transcend the mortal limitations of the flesh, the same gift that is conferred by the alchemical Philosopher's Stone. With my primary thesis now established, I can now provide 3 pieces of supporting evidence that I believe will convince most of you. The first exhibit comes with the aforementioned Acacia Key puzzle, which is completed when you line up the 3 colored boards. The choice to engrave the key with an image of the acacia flower also suggests immortality, as evidenced by an encyclopedia that Maria comes across. Quote, "The acacia tree is a potent symbol in many religions across the world. In Christianity, it represents eternal life and morality." The second piece of evidence comes from the work of Carl Jung, famous for his psychological readings of alchemical doctrine. He believed, as did the alchemists, that the 3-step alchemical process for creating the Philosopher's Stone was as much an internal process as it was external, as psychological as it was physical. To Jung, the nigredo stage corresponds to the unconscious side of our minds. Now, the unconscious side contains all the aspects of our personality that are difficult to reconcile with, but that need to be reconciled with in order to become a better person. For example, if you're quick to feel angry, you need to confront that side of yourself and bring it under your control, lest you let your anger control you. For some people, bringing one's anger under control can become too difficult to process, so they choose to ignore or suppress that trait into unconsciousness. Unfortunately, though, doing this only postpones the problem. The anger will rise up within you and either torture you or turn you into a person you definitely don't want to be. So to bring this emotion under your control, you need to bring it into consciousness, a process that is represented by the albedo stage. Now, as for why this is relevant to the ritual items, some people have speculated that the white chrism is a liquid form of white Claudia. White Claudia was an herb that was used to create the hallucinogenic drug known as PTV in Silent Hill 1. Given that hallucinogens are used to invoke higher or alternate forms of consciousness, it would be appropriate for the chrism to be liquid white Claudia, if that is in fact what it is. The third piece of evidence comes with the symbolism of the colors black and white and why it is appropriate to associate them with objects like a goblet and fluid. In both Western and Eastern alchemy, as well as the wider Hermetic tradition, you almost always see a tendency to assign gendered traits to the physical world. The color black is associated with the feminine. It is the yin of the Chinese alchemists. It is the cosmic feminine womb, the chaos, the void, the source, the darkness, the prima materia from which the universe was born. The color white is masculine, associated with the yang of the Chinese alchemists. The white is the ordering principle that acts upon the chaos. It is God the Father acting upon the motherly void to birth the universe. The white fluid represents the masculine seed, the semen, which will be received by the womb, represented by the goblet, the chalice, which is a very common symbol of the feminine in esoteric tradition. In alchemy, the union of masculine and feminine ingredients is ubiquitous and of great importance, particularly in the creation of the Philosopher's Stone. To cite the work of a fellow Silent Hill fan, Reinstall Paul, one way the alchemists envisioned the creation of the Philosopher's Stone was through the union of Sol and Luna. Sol and Luna were represented in three key ways: man and woman, sun and moon, and gold and silver. As Paul pointed out, this union of Sol and Luna is hinted at in Silent Hill 1, when you have to unify the gold medallion depicting the sun and the silver medallion depicting the moon in order to advance. Now, when Sol and Luna would unite in the alchemical bath, their union would produce what is known as the Rebirth, which was the alchemist's personification of the red Philosopher's Stone. Just like Sol and Luna, the black feminine goblet and the white masculine chrism come together and produce the same gift granted by the Philosopher's Stone, the ability to transcend death. I gotta say one last thing before we conclude. The channel has been struggling a bit over the last month or so regarding the YouTube algorithm, and it's been getting pretty frustrating. If you enjoy the type of in-depth analysis that I do with videos like this, please consider supporting me on Patreon or joining my YouTube member section. If 1/10 of the people watching this video donated $1 a month, it would not only ensure the continued production of videos like this, but also enable me to do even bigger, longer, and more in-depth analysis of other profound media by hiring editors. If you would like to see stuff like that, please click on the links in the description box below to check out my Patreon and my YouTube member section and the various rewards you can get at various tiers. If you absolutely cannot support me in this way, please just make sure to hit that like button or leave a comment. It's totally free and it helps me out a great deal. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, I want Liquid Snake to remind you as always and as per usual,
stay yellow. Now turn that bloody thing off.